I never meant to remember the sound of her scream, but it burned itself into me anyway. The same way betrayal carves its mark into a man who finally sees his family for who they really are. The second her eyes landed on me sitting behind that glass desk, my name etched in bright silver on the front, something inside her snapped. Her voice came out sharp and broken, like a stick cracking in someone's hands. My brother just froze beside her. His fingers slipped from hers as if even his body understood what his mind hadn't processed yet. In that thick, stunned silence, he realized why he'd been called in by the new managing partner. He just hadn't expected that partner to be me. But to explain how they ended up standing in my office, suddenly facing the consequences of years of small choices and growing arrogance, I need to go back. I was the older brother who patched every hole in his life before he even noticed the leaks. Homework he forgot, bullies he couldn't face, fees he didn't pay, hearts he didn't know how to handle. I carried him through all of it like he was fragile crystal I couldn't afford to drop. And even when he married her, the woman my instincts clenched at from day one, I still stood there by his side. He told me she was sharp. I told him she was calculating. He laughed like I was the one misunderstanding the world. Looking back, I should have seen it. People with shallow roots always look for someone else to balance on. At first it was easy to dismiss. He stopped answering my calls. She rolled her eyes whenever I opened my mouth. Family dinners turned into quiet little plays where everyone acted polite, and I was the extra no one wanted on stage. Then he sent the message. Not privately. Not with any shame. In the family group chat for everyone to see. Don't come to the weekend barbecue. My new wife says you'll make the whole party stink. My parents tapped like as if it were some harmless joke, but he meant every word. And she'd enjoyed typing it. I stared at the message a long time. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel hurt. I felt clarity, calm, sharp, final. I typed one word, understood. Because by then, I already knew something they didn't. Their lives, their comfort, their sense of security were all resting on a foundation I quietly held together, while they were busy running around playing house and tossing insults my direction. The board of directors at our firm was reviewing performance, reliability, and long-term leadership. My brother had been coasting on fumes for years, drowning in tiny failures I kept fixing behind the curtain. I never complained. I wanted him to grow into the position he thought he deserved. But everything shifted when a friend in HR pulled me aside and told me his wife had encouraged him to push for my removal, said I was too soft, too old-fashioned, too dull to stay in charge. He wanted my role. She wanted my downfall. That was when something in me shut off. My heart stepped back and my mind stepped up. I didn't retaliate. Not yet. I started gathering proof. I documented what he ignored. I collected what he missed. I let the facts speak for themselves. Their arrogance made the evidence effortless. I prepared a report so clean and undeniable the board didn't even need a debate. They voted unanimously. I became managing partner. He wasn't fired, not that day. Some consequences deserve patience, and becoming managing partner gave me something far more valuable than a title: access. Once I had access, I dug into every file tied to him. Missed deadlines, complaints from clients, numbers that didn't add up. Nothing criminal, but enough to show the truth he'd been hiding even from himself. Still, I didn't fire him. Not yet. I chose a different path. I reassigned all his clients to people who could handle them. I moved him into a temporary transition role with no upward track. His salary was cut in half. His benefits were frozen. And right on cue, his wife exploded online, posting dramatic rants about how unfair the company was and how politics were ruining their lives. She didn't realize those politics had my signature at the bottom. Then they requested a meeting with the managing partner, completely unaware it was me. They walked into the office annoyed, expecting someone they could intimidate or manipulate. But the moment she saw me behind that desk, her whole face drained of color. She grabbed my brother's arm like she needed him to keep her upright. He stared at me with a stunned, almost accusing whisper. You? I leaned back in my chair, calm and steady. You asked for a meeting, I said. I assumed you wanted to go over the consequences of your performance. He swallowed hard. I didn't know you were in charge. I nodded once. Yes, that's been the problem your whole life. His wife stepped forward, her voice trembling with anger. This is personal. I shook my head. It became personal the moment you encouraged him to replace me. She stiffened, as if the air had suddenly thickened around her. He couldn't even look up, just stared at the floor. I slid the termination letter across the table, letting it land right at the edge of his reach. Effective immediately, I said. You'll receive a modest severance. HR will escort you out in 5 minutes. For the first time in years. My brother finally looked at me with something real in his eyes, regret, heavy and raw. Why? He whispered. Why are you doing this? I gave him a small, honest smile. Because you told me not to come to a barbecue. I said gently, and I listened. They walked out of my office slowly, her shaking, him hollowed out. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I'd lost a brother. I felt like I'd finally let go of one I'd been dragging behind me for years. Families aren't supposed to be cages. Sometimes betrayal simply shows you which door you need to close. When they stepped out and the door clicked shut behind them, I finally exhaled a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Justice doesn't always come crashing in with noise and fire. Sometimes it sits calmly at a desk, signs a piece of paper, folds its hands, and watches the people who earn their fate walk themselves out. If this story made you feel something, drop a like. Comment "I choose myself" if you believe in self-worth over validation. Hit subscribe for more stories that remind you how powerful you really are.